7 o'clock, time to get started. All right, well, first of all, thank you very much for coming to the Mayoral Forum for Farmers City. It's nice that we've got three people that have the passion to do the job and to want to get in front of it. So we will take a good look at what they have tonight. First of all, big thank you to Sandy Shaw for the idea of putting this together. Retirement is not suiting her so far. She's already bored and looking for things to do. Big thank you to Chris Risler back here. She will be our timekeeper today. And you know, it's very appropriate. We've got her and Warren here together. Again, happy anniversary to you guys from yesterday. What, 36 years? It seems appropriate to wish you that here at the Legion, because that's where you're at most of the time. Yeah, there you go. He's ready. Big thank you to Kurt Bozarth and his podcast locally called Shield Bash. It's an actual play podcast. They do the role-play game called Pathfinder. So that's what all of our wireless equipment, all that is from our podcast group here in town. So big thanks to DJ Jazzy Kurt back here in the corner. Thank you very much to the candidates again for coming and participating in this evening. Big thanks to Lynn Amaker for videotaping for us tonight, and as he always does, which is always fantastic, because then if you miss something, and we often do, you can always go check it out online, and that's very handy. And the biggest thanks for me, as always, to the American Legion, this incredible facility that they have that they always lend out whenever something civic is needed. They're there. So always a huge thanks to the American Legion. Rules for this evening: the candidates will each get a 2-minute opening statement. So they'll have 2 minutes to discuss what it is or who they are really in the first statement. After that, I'll begin asking them questions in sort of a round. So we'll start with the second person who would ask the question and move forward from there. Each one of the questions tonight will be 60 seconds to answer. So they've been a number of them. We've got probably 7 more questions that we'll be able to use tonight. We actually have quite a list of them. So please, we're going to try and get the ones that we felt were pressing for the most number of people from the ones that we got in. If we didn't get yours, our apologies. When it hits 8:30, I'm going to try and stop promptly there. And then we'll go informal. At that point, we'll pull the microphones off of them. We'll let them walk out, and then they can kind of group up. You can ask questions if you have something specific. Show your support. Volunteer to help them out. Whatever you wish to do at that point. The candidates will be available for you. And again, I want to try and get to that at 8:30 as promptly as possible. They will have a closing statement right before that as well. So, with that, time to get to our opening statements. We're going left to right, which would be stage left. We'll start off with Mr. McKinley. Please give us your opening statement.
Is my mic on?
You're good.
Good evening and welcome, and thank you for coming. I'm Willard McKinley. I want to be your mayor. I'm married to the former Sally Hyman for 40 years. I have 2 children, Aaron Coffey of Farmer City and Kelly McKinley of Fisher, and I have 8 grandchildren. I'm a lifelong citizen and basically a true native of Farmer City. My family has been in Farmer City or Mount Pleasant for 180 years. I'm the 7th generation. I own McKinley Water Conditioning, a business that has been in Farmer City for 55 years. I have served on the DeWitt County Board from 2003 to 2013. I'm the past president of Farmer City JCs in 1975, a member of the Knights of Pythias, and a life member of this American Legion post. I'm currently on the City Council. I also have as an alderman from 1993 to 1994, from 2013 to 2016. I was elected as the mayor in 1989 and served until 1993. During my time in office, a lot of progress was made. The annexation of 200 acres of land into the city, the creation of the first tax increment financing district, TIF 1, as it's better known as. The 200 acres was put into TIF 1 for future development in the city. The creation of TIF allowed business to establish owners of the buildings within the TIF district to repair and fix up their existing buildings. A new water tower is built, going from 160,000 gallons of overhead storage to 250,000 gallons of overhead storage. A much-needed improvement to the city. Several much-needed electrical rebuilds were done during this time with a generator rebuild. I was instrumental in getting the professional management position created in the form of a city administrator, which is eventually evolved into a city manager form of government. I volunteer my time and my efforts to youth sports, in sponsoring youth sports, baseball, basketball, Heritage Days. I've supported Heritage Days. I've been helped my daughter with it. And I would go up in the morning after Heritage Days and pick up the beer cans and help clean up the street and everything so the street get opened back up a little bit quicker. I keep the scorebook for the high school basketball team and have done that for 20 seasons. I feel I'm a successful businessman, an open-minded, always wanting to see the best for Farmer City. I want to see Farmer City progress, and if I'm your mayor, progress will always be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Testore, your opening statement.
Yes, sir. I'm Scott Testore. Folks might know me as a guy that asks questions. I always ask a lot of questions. I grew up in Champaign and Savoy. I served 7 years in the Navy before returning to Champaign. Went to Centennial High School, graduated Parkland College with a degree in business management. Moved to Farmer City in 2006, so I am a new resident. From Rantoul with my wife Angela. Immediately upon moving here, we fostered our niece and nephew, and it was during that time that I became acquainted with the Blue Ridge, with Blue Ridge schools. At that time, I was driving field transport and animal highway maintainer, having worked on several campaigns for various politicians and following politics, both locally and nationally. My wife made me promise I would stay out of Farmer State politics for at least 2 years, which I did. And I started following the Farmer City politics. Currently, we have a foster daughter living with us named Svetlana, who's 6 and is in Mrs. Ward's kindergarten class. She came to us over 2.5 years ago. She's my #1 supporter right now. One of the reasons I knew about Farmer City was the Scarecrow Festival that we attended, and I appreciate the Heritage Days Festival. It's an asset to the community. The other was the raceway. My father raced sprint cars and he flies airplanes, so I grew up around motorsports. I also have a trade degree in automotive technology. I live on Allen Street. You may know the old purple house I've been painting on for several years. The house is winning at this point. People around me know me for the great dog I had until recently and the chickens I had some years ago that roamed the neighborhood. Currently I'm gearing up to clean up my yard. It is spring cleanup. May 4th is the area pickup disposal. I started listening to what people were saying around town in various situations. When I seen an open council seat, I ran for it, with my wife's permission, of course. I got involved to give the people a voice. I had heard people not being heard, and I felt that they needed to be heard. Thank you.
Mr. Wooling, your opening statement.
Again, thanks for allowing me the pleasure to be up here and speak with you people tonight. My name's Larry Wooling. I'm a lifelong resident of Farmer City. I want to focus on volunteerism in Farmer City. It's something that I have been deeply involved in my entire life. I began with the JCs back in the 70s. One of our big projects, and Willard would remember this, we worked on Weedman Park. We took that park, we changed the parking lots, we installed some fencing, we did a lot of things up there to make Weedman Park better. I served on the fire department for several years. I served and reached the rank of captain. I was a training officer. Many of the major fires occurred while I was on the fire department. I've served under several mayors. I was the water superintendent for many years after the retirement of Dean Schmitz. I then transferred into the street department. I was there for a few years until the retirement of Dwayne Steiger. And then an opening came on into the police department. Terry Scott was the police chief, and he was creating an auxiliary force. I was one of the first members of the auxiliary force with 6 others. Mark Gardner and myself were the first that were authorized to carry firearms as an auxiliary officer for Farmer City. We worked the races, we worked special events, and we also provided the extra officer in the car at no charge. An opening came up in the police department, and I applied for it. I was fortunate enough to be hired as a full-time officer. From there, I rose through the ranks. I was sergeant, and eventually I got the position of chief of police. I was your chief of police for 24 years. I believed I served in that capacity in a very loyal manner to the citizens of this community. While I was the chief of police, I was also a DARE officer, providing DARE instruction to the 5th and 6th graders in 4 area communities. Those being Mansfield, Wapella, here in Farmer City, and in Leroy. In closing, I'll just say that I will be the only mayor that will not accept a paycheck if you elect me. Thank you.
All right, this part will go a little bit quicker. These questions will be answered 60 seconds each. Make sure I'm in sync with my timekeepers. They'll get a little yellow card showed up there when it hits 45 seconds. And make sure you all know where Chris is sitting over there. And Chris and Worm, if you could, just keep the card up when it hits 45. Just keep the yellow up there. And then when it hits 60, just flip it. So. All right. And I appreciate you all being timely. That was very nice. Actually, the first debate I hosted was in the early 90s, and it was between Ted Nugent and an animal rights activist. So I have the distinct pleasure of I turned the microphone down on Ted Nugent. Not many people can say that. All right, so the first question will start with Mr. Testery as he is next in. Mr. Testery, what is your vision for Farmer City in the next 5 years, and what steps will you take to accomplish this?
Well, my vision of Farmer City depends on what the citizens are asking for. Right now they're asking for progress, and we've been making progress. I would like to point out the term's 4 years, not 5, so hoping to keep going past that. The first thing we've got to do is we've got to get utilities across that interstate. That's been dragging on for far too long. That is the key to getting revenue into Farmer City, getting people off this interstate. The plans are currently underway. I'd like to promote Farmer City as a hub community. I'd like to point out that Farmer City is literally 24 miles from Champaign, 26 from Bloomington, 22 from Gibson City, a little over 28 from Decatur. We are a good hub community. There's no reason people can't live here. My wife and I live here. She travels one way, I travel the other. Now we both travel the same way, but we chose Farmer City because it made our travel time easier. Getting a grocery store back is a high priority. And accomplishing the interstate development is going to do that. That's going to fund the TIF, and it's going to allow us to do a lot of stuff to drag the grocery store into our community. And it's also going to bring residents to our community to support a grocery store. So that is my brief plan.
And as I go, I'll typically say, same question. At any point, if you want me to restate it, just because sometimes when you're hearing a long answer that you may not get it again. So I will say, Mr. Wooling, same question.
I believe that Farmer City has to grow. The city manager made a comment at a council meeting about the EAV. Folks, if the town doesn't grow, expenses keep going up, but we're not getting in more tax dollars. We need residential growth and we need commercial growth. The commercial growth should happen north of the interstate. Fortunately, when I was city manager, I reached out to the Mach 1 owner, I reached out to Cobblestone Estates, and I reached out to Burger King. They all showed an interest in Farmer City. That's prime land out there. I will help rejuvenate the downtown, and I will work with area landowners to make sure that we get housing within the next 4 years of my term. That's my promise. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
I want to see the town cleaned up. I think that's one thing this town needs to have, the infrastructure. I'm really strong in getting the infrastructure up to date because it is old. And there are things that happen. We've seen partly here on John Street where the sewer had a problem with it. And we have just got through lining that sewer today. I think the progress ended on that. As far as the interstate goes, across the interstate, yes, we do need to go across the interstate. We are working on that. Money's getting in place and everything to move across the interstate and to develop that. But we want to make sure that we're developing in a smart way. We do not want to waste our money when we go over there, and make sure that we have a solid agreement from whoever wants to go in there, whoever we're looking at. We are a hub. I think everything should start from here. A lot of people should look at Farmer City as being a place where they should locate and move out and start from here and move their product in the way they need to go and all. But we need to have more land for that. We need more housing.
We can't hear you back here, Hillary.
You don't need to do anything. We'll take care of it over here.
I'm sorry.
Mic up or something.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. There you go.
Better? Okay, good. I guess I'm done because my time's up.
Can they hear the rest of it?
To respect that.
Yeah, how were the answers for the others? Was it just Willard was quiet?
Real good.
Okay. All right, next question. This would be for Mr. Wooling to start. What, if any, measures do you see necessary for helping reduce utility costs?
Well, I believe in reducing utility costs. First of all, I started an LED street lighting program we get a monthly bill from the IMEA. That's all of the city's usage of power and your usage, and we pay one bill. If we sped up that process, got all the street lights changed over to LED, our costs would go down. That would eventually be a savings to you. I think that when the city buildings are not being used after hours, that the lights should be turned off. That includes areas such as the light plant. I'm not talking about outside security areas. I think that those should be well lit for safety purposes, but let's shut the lights off in the inside. Again, that reduces the utilities. And as far as that goes, I would also like to reach out to the IMEA, see if utility bills could be lowered some. It might be a small amount, but I realize that everybody complains about the electric rate here in Farmer City. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
I don't feel our electric rate is too high. I think we're pretty much in line with everybody else. I think you can help reduce the cost in your home by reducing how much power you use. We'd be looking at LED lights, turning up the air conditioner in summer, heat down in the winter. Try to conserve yourself. As far as costs go to the city and all, I think that if we can look at labor as being one thing, but I don't know if we could cut back on labor. But, going with LED lights all over town would be the best thing we could do because that would help cut our consumption here for the city and all. That's really about all I have. I think that's what we can do.
Mr. Tester, same question.
Yes, sir. I've addressed this electric cost with the council and the city manager, and we've done rate comparisons. We've brought the IMEA in. We've had other utilities, the Corn Belt, looked at us, and we're not that far out of line on the rates. There are good things we can do, like putting in LED lights in. There's good things you can do in your home to reduce power. The one program that we have is not being utilized is a power bill equalization program, whereas your power bill is divided up over 12 months. So as you use less in the wintertime, that money, the bill basically stays the same. No matter what you're using, it's divided out over 12 months. It makes the bill easier to budget. That's an easy thing for low-income households to do. We do need to look at the power usage for businesses. A lot of businesses are complaining their power bills are high. It seems to me that we need to look at that and find out why the business power bills are so high. That's something we can do in the near future. Thank you.
Next question will be for Mr. McKinley to begin. What would you do to enhance the existing businesses in Farmer City and bring more business opportunities into the downtown area?
I saw Hayworth do this, and I thought it was a good move. They went to the home show in Bloomington and set up a display and displayed their town. They took pictures and had everybody, people come by, stop, talk to them, say, hey, here we are, we're available. We're here in Hayworth. We have TIF districts. We are got housing going on, new housing and all that. I think that's one way to do that is to go to two shows like that. Maybe the city council would go, the mayor and the city council would go, or some of the, not all, but maybe even some Chamber of Commerce members. To get more business in downtown, what kind of business do we want to have in downtown? That's the next thing. Where do we want to go with that? Being in business is very expensive to get started. Probably a startup cost for a minimum would be $20,000. We got to have somebody that really wants to come in so they can make a profit. And I guess I'm through because my time's up.
Mr. Testery, same question.
Yes, sir. Enhancing the businesses in downtown kind of intrudes on the free market. It's a laissez-faire market. There's things we can do like marketing Farmer City. We can certainly talk about beautification projects to make the storefronts, sidewalks, and that sort of thing more presentable. In past discussions, we've talked about sales tax, and I have opposed higher sales taxes. I don't think we need to meet or match the sales tax of the communities around us. We have a lower sales tax that should bring people to our community if we can get it out there. I'd like to have a discussion about empty storefronts. We've got several storefronts that are empty, and there's got to be a way to get those storefronts filled. That detracts from our downtown. Thank you.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
I hope you folks remember the old building that is now the pharmacy. That took a lot of work. We took an old building, we had a vision of bringing in a new business, and the citizens said they needed a pharmacy in Farmer City. That's what I plan to do for Farmer City. I think that a smaller streetscape project, as one like we had planned years ago through USDA, but one on a smaller basis, one that we can afford because we have to have our money to offset USDA costs. We need to brighten the main street up. It's getting kind of dingy looking. Light poles need painted. It needs to be remarked. The parking stalls aren't in there correctly. There's little things that we can do. Then after that, I think that the city council in whole, the manager, the city mayor, needs to start making cold calls, going out, visiting other towns, trying to entice the small businesses to come to Farmer City. It will work. It takes time. It's not an overnight event. Thank you, Worm.
Next question, Mr. Testry, you will begin on this one. And this is an issue I've heard come up in city council meetings a few times. I know it's a passionate group. So here's their question. What are your thoughts on there being a sidewalk along Route 54 out to the Prairie Ridge subdivision?
I have no opposition to that sidewalk along 54. I understand, I've talked to some people that they're concerned about kids using the sidewalk next to a state route. My understanding was that the Prairie Ridge subdivision was supposed to be developed and the sidewalk would come through to Water Street, but that seems to have fallen through, mainly because of the cost that the owners are trying to get for the property. If a group of citizens has an idea, a plan on where that sidewalk can go in, and I'm willing to look at it, I don't see a problem putting a sidewalk in there.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
In my previous employment as city manager, I presented to the city 2 different plans for a sidewalk to go out to the subdivision. The first plan was along Illinois Route 54. That plan for a 5-foot wide sidewalk would allow for pedestrian and handicapped traffic to pass at any one given time. I also advised the council that we would need to enhance the lighting out there to make it safer. There were some citizens along that area that did not want a sidewalk in their front yard, and so that plan kind of went to the wayside. After that, I reached out to Stuart Drake. He owns the farmland behind the houses. We were negotiating with Stuart to be able to put a sidewalk back there. It would not interfere with anyone's yards, and it would give you access back again to the subdivision. Lighting would have to be placed back there as well to make it safe for the kids or anybody that travels along that way. I was working on that, but unfortunately I was terminated. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
Well, I'm not really in favor of the sidewalk along 54 going out there. I think it's dangerous via children and all. It's too close to the highway. It would be a hazard during the winter and everything. There'd be a lot of snow, sludge, whatever, and going up on there and being a problem. Really for the kids' sake and everything, riding bicycles and being up there. Don't disagree if the lighting needs to be a little bit better along that road anyway, in general. But I'm just not really in favor of seeing it down. I do think we should have a sidewalk out to Prairie Ridge in some way, and maybe get back with Stuart and start talking to him and see what we can work out to get that taken care of, starting in from our new project we're going to have completed here in the summer on Water Street, taking off from there and going down, because we're going to have a new sidewalk down there on Water Street. Thank you.
Next question, Mr. Woolen, this will be you first. Very general question, why do you want to be mayor of Farmer City?
It's kind of a life goal of mine. I had told many of people over the years, employees inside City Hall, I had always wanted to be mayor. I've expressed to a lot of people I wanted to be mayor. I think the mayor is an important role here in Farmer City, and I think that I can provide the leadership to the city manager, to the city council. I think that I have ideas that will bring growth to the community, and I just believe that I'm the correct candidate to fill that role.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
I'm going to be the mayor because I've been there once before. I know the position, know what's involved. It's a totally different position today than what it was in 1989 when I was elected. In 1989, it was more of a hands-on position where I was more like a city manager, city administrator. At that time, the mayor was the CEO, chief executive officer of the city. By adopting the city manager form of government, the mayor has no power. The mayor cannot do anything other than be a cheerleader for the town, so to speak. He has no power over anybody to do anything. I can't think of my word right now that I want to use, but to go out and to promote the town, promote the town and basically be a cheerleader. I really can't think of my word I want to say, but yes, but I am. That's why I want to be the mayor.
Mr. Testery, same question.
Yes, sir. Last year and a half, 2 years, we've made a lot of progress. We're starting to see streets get fixed and water lines go in. We're addressing a lot of problems that have been thrown by the wayside for 15 to 20 years. The reason I want to be mayor is I want to see this continue. We need to continue with our infrastructure improvements. You've got 2 new council members coming on. You got to decide if you want the way it was or you want the way it's going to go. And I'd like to be the mayor to make sure it continues moving forward.
Next question, we start with Mr. McKinley. Do you believe the city manager position is necessary for a town our size, and are we utilizing that position correctly now?
Yes, I do feel it's necessary for the town. It's our form of government. We have to have that city manager position. We cannot get rid of it unless we want to change the form of government. And going back to the old form, it's just being negative towards the community. But I think we have an excellent city manager on board right now. She has saved us money. She's made us money. She's very good at what she does. You know, without her being here, we wouldn't have the progression that we have right now in the 2 years that she's been here. And if she is gone or things don't work out in the election just right, she might not be here in the future, and or things might change. So, and to go back and to hire another one, it's just not that easy to do. And when we found her, we found somebody who was very good at their trade, and we're very happy that we have her here. And I was probably the one who really pushed to get her here. Not everybody was in favor of her being the one at the time and everything, and not everybody wanted to change at the time from the city manager that we have to the one we have now.
Mr. Testery, same question.
Yes, the city manager is a necessary position. She brings a tremendous amount of knowledge to the job. She brings a tremendous amount of professionalism to the job. The fact is that with our history, she was the only person that actually that wanted the job, and we can discuss that at another time. But she has the knowledge to navigate the rules, to seek out loans, grants, monies for us. She follows the laws. She runs the day-to-day operation, and I think the city has run smoother under her management. Short and sweet, thank you.
Mr. Willing, same question.
Well, you're asking me a hot one, aren't you? I do believe that the city manager form of government is the way to go. I worked for mayors that would tell you, go here, go to the left, and go to the right. You didn't know what you were supposed to be doing. You made more people mad because you couldn't complete a job. Therefore, I do believe the city manager is the correct form of government for Farmer City. I don't personally know the current city manager. I have nothing against the city manager. Someone started a rumor that if Larry Willing was the mayor, that he would fire the city manager. That is anything far from truth. I would like to work with this gal. I think that between her knowledge and her skills and my drive, that we can really make Farmer City progress. Thank you.
Next question, we begin with Mr. Testery. And since all three of you have city government experience, it's a rare opportunity to get to ask this question. Is there any one decision you have made as part of our city's government that you either regret or wish you might have done differently, and why?
Yes, there is a decision I regret. It concerns a vote. My decision likely would have been the same. But it was pointed out to me that the voters deserved to hear my opinion, deserved to hear my vote. It was disrespectful to the public to have not voted on that issue. So that is what the regret I have is not casting the vote not seconding the motion when it was asked. The people deserve to know what we were thinking. I regret not having made that public.
Mr. Willing, same question.
Holding the office of city manager and working for the city for a little over 40 years, I made a lot of friends. I lost some of those friends because I had to do my job. I regret at times the job that I had to do by letting people go. I know how unpleasant it is because it happened to me. That's what I really regretted, is being city manager. It's a tough position to be in at times, but you do have a responsibility to the community, and I believe that I held that responsibility to the utmost, and I tried to do the best job. But that is my most regret, some of the friends that I have lost over the years. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
Well, I don't regret anything I've done the past 2 years. I do regret something I did in my first term in my term as mayor, and that was the selling of the old firehouse in downtown Farmer City. I wish we had kept that for the purpose of storage and all. Not that it's a big thing, but it's just something I just regret that I did. I always hated myself after that for doing that sort of thing. And I think they made me cast a deciding vote that night anyway.
All right, next question begins with Mr. Willing. What plans do you have for improving the water quality in Farmer City?
Well, I think that there's some simple fixes, but the most important thing is we have a very modern water plant out on North John Street. I would ask our city manager to provide all the funds necessary and the tools necessary to make sure that the water superintendent is allowed to operate that water plant at optimum capacity and at the optimum level. That will give you the best quality water. Another thing is the condition of the water tower. Many people don't know that the water tower needs to be drained. It needs to be, there's baffles inside the water tower. They're in bad shape. We had divers in there a few years ago. They couldn't even see that there was so much sediment in there. So that needs to be done. Fire hydrants need to be replaced. Those fire hydrants that don't work, they have that sediment in the bottom as well. You can't turn the hydrant on, you can't flush the sediment out. The only way to get that sediment out would be to replace them. Once again, thank you, Gary.
Mr. McKinley, your question.
We are in the process. We have replaced some fire hydrants during the last summer and everything. That's going to be ongoing too. The infrastructure, as I pointed out earlier, needs to be replaced, and when we can, and we go in we're replacing the water main right now on Water Street, putting a new water main in, and we want to keep looking at doing that every year or whenever possible, and we have the money to do so, to replace water mains in town. Like I said, some of them are over 100 years old, and they leak, always continuous leaks. There's no sense to keep patching this. It's time to replace and put things in the right order and all. Our water treatment plant is up to par. Calvin does an excellent job with it and everything. He is taking it to the max. It was let go, and that water treatment plant basically is just a big water softener, and it's as good as the person that's going to put salt into the salt tank. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. I somewhat wasn't in favor of it, not because of the business I'm in, but just for the fact that you've got to have a good operator with it all the time. If you don't, you're going to have a poor quality of water. And also to keep flushing the mains, and Calvin does that also pretty well.
Mr. Testery, same question.
Yes, sir. Water is an ongoing process, and we are replacing mains. That's going to be the key. These mains are old, and they're not going to get all done at one time. But we are replacing the water mains. There's a cost. There's a cost to that, and there's a proposal now to raise the water tax by a little bit to help fund some of that. That's going to have to be done. I can't see any way around it. The water department does do an excellent job. Calvin and his guys, they're killing themselves trying to keep this thing up and running. One of the things that we've done is my wife and I have taken personal responsibility for our water, and we've installed a mineral separator, an iron separator. We got rid of the old water softener and we put in a new system. I don't know that everybody can do that, but I think given the condition of the mains and knowing that there's going to take time to do, that sometimes we got to look at what we can do in our own house to make our water better. Thank you. That's it.
Next question, Mr. McKinley, you'll begin. How would you plan to involve the residents in a decision-making process for our town?
Depending on the decision-making process, I like ad hoc committees, people getting certain individuals that have expertise in maybe a certain area that we might be looking at, getting them appointed. They have to behave just like we do at the city council. They have to have a schedule for meetings. They have to abide by the sunshine laws. But I think it's a good way to get people so they can understand how the government works. And it is primarily an advisory group. They would come back and give their conclusion to the city council if they did their research and all.
Mr. Tester,
I'd like to clarify on that. Are we asking if the residents can do referendums, or are we asking how to involve residents?
how would you involve residents in the decision-making process?
Okay.
So that could be referendums, that could just be soliciting opinions.
Well, the way to involve the residents is for residents to get involved with the council. You've got 2 new people coming on, talk to them, let them know what you're thinking. We can do town halls, and this is probably the best attendance I've ever seen at a town hall or a meeting, or, well, with the exception of the garbage issues. As for me, at previous council meetings and schedules, I've insisted that we have 2 meetings a month, every month, maintain maximum transparency. I've been opposed on this, citing time constraints, lack of citizen attendance, and costs to the council staff and attorneys. The last town hall on electric, I was asked, we wanted to explain the bills. Unfortunately, the attendance was kind of mediocre, and I had to work. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. But there again, the way to get residents involved and is for residents to become involved, attend the meetings, and voice your opinions. Come talk to us, call me. I always tell you what my phone number is. You know where I live.
Mr. Wooling, same question.
There's no doubt that we need community involvement. This is a very good turnout. Running for mayor, I went and literally walked the entire town passing out cards. It's amazing the questions that I was asked by the citizens as I was sticking a card in their door or knocking on their door. They have questions, they just don't know how to present those questions to the elected officials. I would make myself available. I'm semi-retired. I would be up at City Hall. I would establish regular hours. I think that community involvement, whether it's through committees, having them involved, getting their feedback, because if we accept your feedback and you're more vested in the community, you're going to be happier with the workings of your city council. And that's what we need in Farmer City. Because I don't believe that currently a lot of people are happy with the workings of the city council. Thank you.
Next question, Mr. Testry, you'll begin. If elected, what steps would you take to put our city on firmer financial footing?
That's a good question. The first step has been taken already. We hired a qualified city manager to take over this. And she has currently filled out 2 budgets that have no zeros, no blanks, no spaces, and they're balanced. The second step is to get the interstate property developed. That interstate property is going to develop the new TIF we've got, or it's going to fund the new TIF we've got coming up. So that has got to be completed quickly to get that TIF funded. The third step is to promote Farmer City. I think a marketing campaign for promoting Farmer City as a hub. I gave you the distances from the communities. We'd be a great bedroom community. There's no reason businesses couldn't locate here, and it'd be in a short distance to the stores and other areas they serve. I'm losing my train of thought. The location of Farmer City is why my wife and I moved here. This is a good location. We need to promote that, even if we need to go market it.
Mr. Wooling, same question.
Well, first of all, I think that investing Farmer City's funds properly is a major step. We never want to lose our local bank. When a town loses a local bank, then that town will eventually dry up. So we need to work with Heartland Bank and get the most on our return. We did, while I was city manager, reach out to the Fisher Bank. We invested money over there. a small amount because they were paying a higher dividend. The Illinois Rural Fund, I believe it's called, I might not have that absolutely correct. I know that the city invests money in there. They're always checking to see what the interest rate is and see what the return is. One thing that we need to do is to always make sure that we're getting the most for our bang, because the city does have a lot of money, and we need to make sure that we're getting a good return on that money.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
Yeah, we're in a pretty good financial state right now. Since Sue has been on board and everything, she has invested our money. We've had some money that was laying back that wasn't doing anything at all because things weren't taken care of in the past. And we have, since that has been, since she's got here, we've invested that money and we've gained about $30,000 in interest off of it within a short period of time. Keeping the city manager, a good city manager in place is a big plus for us to have a good financial standing to keep our funds in order. In the past, I never did see a budget that was really never did see a budget. Asked for budget workshops, we never had a budget workshop. Now we have budget workshops. We know what's going on, and I think that's another plus for anybody that's on the city council and for the city itself and for the consumer for our citizens to see that. Thank you.
Next question, Mr. Wooling. You'll start with this one. With an impending TIF district, what steps would you take to ensure TIF funds are distributed in an appropriate manner?
Well, I would reach out to the taxing bodies that are involved, and I would have a member from each of those taxing bodies be on the TIF board. They are the ones that are really vested into the community being a taxing body. I would take any recommendation from them on an application for TIF funds, and I would have the city attorney check to make sure the legalities of it. I would then have whoever the applicant is sign a 5-year agreement, a minimum of a 5-year agreement, that business won't fold or they will reimburse the TIF fund for those funds. I think that is very important because some people have gotten TIF funds and they've literally walked away shortly after that. I think that those are important steps in the TIF, steps to get the new TIF going. Thanks.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
Well, I'm a little maybe clear about distributing, if you're distributing it to applicants of the TIF or distributing it to, I guess it would be both. But we've had TIF funds that were paid out to the developer in the Prairie Ridge subdivision, and there was no receipts asked for, and it totaled over $1 million. So there's no accountability of what happened there. As far as anybody who comes in and applies for a TIF grant and everything, the TIF committee would be appointed and everything, and let them determine the right way to put that money out there, whether we put in what percentage they would get and everything.
Mr. Tester, same question.
Yes, sir. The question, what steps to ensure the TIF funds are distributed appropriately? What we've done is on the new TIF, we've had an outside company come in, an economic management company, to set this up. And by having an independent firm set this up and to run it, it keeps us above board. We can have people, committees, do recommendations and whatever, but we need to check this money, the distribution, through the TIF management agency and through the attorneys. That's how we're going to make sure it's distributed properly.
Mr. McKinley, next question. You will start with this one. How do you propose to draw a grocery store to Farmer City?
Good question. It's a real good question. And it's not that can be answered in a minute. It's how much do we want to give up? And when I mean when we give up, do we want to give up taxes for that building? Do we want to give up utility for a period of time, both lights and water, or just definitely electricity, because that's going to be a big thing. And to find somebody who wants to come in here that has the money to start that up. Then too, it comes back to everybody sitting in this room. When you traded that store once it's here, after we've invested in it, you have to come back and you have to trade there to keep that investment alive and going. And we do need a grocery store in some way, shape, or form, but it's very tough in a small town anymore to do that. A lot of small towns are closing up. And I know I don't have enough time, but I know in BMAT they lost a grocery store, and a young couple started up, and to help maintain that. And I stopped there one day. Probably wasn't the thing that they might have had second thoughts about it if it ever happened today. So it's a tough thing to start a grocery store in a small town and to keep it going.
Mr. Testery, same question.
Yes, sir. I hate to beat the interstate project to death, but development of the community is how we're going to get a grocery store in. We need to bring the TIF money in. We need to bring the residents in. We need to get people off that interstate. Once you do that, you're going to show a grocery store, a potential grocery store, that we have the population and the people to support it. That's going to be how we get a grocery store in here. Aside from that, we're going to have to reach out to lots of stores to come up with plans, and we may have to give up some tax money, or we may have to help finance it in some form or fashion. But that's down the road. That's when we get the city rolling, keep it rolling, and get the residents and the money coming in. People will build where the money's at.
Mr. Woolley, same question.
Well, I think that if the citizens truly want a grocery store, the city would have to make some concessions, whether it's through the utility bills or tax abatement or what. The problem is that we've also said that we wanted a new Dollar General, and Dollar General's expansion, they're going to bring additional groceries. A mom and pop grocery store will not be able to compete with Dollar General. You can go to any community and ask, and they will tell you that. I don't honestly think we'll see that grocery store reopen for a couple years, at best. We can try all we want, but maintaining that grocery store would be tough. There is no doubt that with growth to the community, there's going to be a need for a grocery store. But just keep in mind that the Dollar General, which will be a fine addition to the community, is also a dagger in the back of a grocery store.
Next question, Mr. Testery, this will be yours to start, and since it's come up a number of times and it's been a pressing issue since I was a child, what will you do to help draw business to Interstate 74?
Get the utilities across the interstate. That property's been sitting there without utilities for ever since we got it. I don't know how many years that is off the top of my head, but we've got to get the utilities there. Developers have looked at it. They've declined it due to the lack of utilities. That's how we're going to draw business to 74. I talked to another guy about doing some beautification on the overpass. I don't want to get into the details on that because I don't have it nailed down yet. But making that overpass unique is also going to be key to getting people to stop in here.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
We really haven't had the opportunity to get utilities out there for a long period of time. The city had an option on that when that was the Ursi Snow Farm. We continue to renew that option over the years, but the city never truly acquired that land until maybe in the past 10 years. Again, keep in mind that I did reach out to 3 different vendors, the Mach 1, a Burger King, and a hotel, and there is an interest in going north of the interstate. I contacted IDOT about turn lanes. I had the Farnsworth Group, who was doing engineering at the time, come up with a model plan. I made that presentation at City Hall at a council meeting, so you would all see that. There is no doubt that if we get the Mach 1 over there, if we spend the money for utilities, there will be growth north of the interstate. Whether it's commercial or whether it's residential, it will grow. Thanks.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
The property was annexed into the city in 1990. I helped do that I got Ursi Snow talked into doing it, and helped complete our TIF district and everything with the intent of developing that property over there. Utilities do have to go underneath the interstate to get over there and try to help the development and all. I don't think Mach 1's coming. I think that's off the page right now. So I don't think we need to talk any more about that, from what I understand. So it's too bad. But maybe, we did look at in the past, when I was the mayor in the past, we looked at a pilot truck stop maybe coming in there at one time, and we did do a survey to see if a truck stop would locate there and all, and some of them said yes they would, and they would use it as a fuel dump and everything, but nothing ever happened. Maybe it went on down the road to Leroy, because maybe we weren't prepared at the time.
Next question, Mr. Woolen, you'll begin with this one. We've heard a number of issues here already. What do you think is the most pressing issue in Farmer City?
Well, I think there's short-term issues and long-term issues. On a short-term basis, I know that the contract for the ambulance service through the fire district is about to expire. That'll expire sometime within the next 3 or 4 months. I do realize that the call volume was down, and so the ambulance provider has lost several thousands of dollars. We need to assure that there is an ambulance in Farmer City. I believe that this city needs to work with the fire district financially and through a committee to help keep an ambulance in Farmer City. That's a short-term goal, but I think that it affects everybody. Long-term, there is no doubt that, again, we'll say this time and time again, we got to get some houses built in Farmer City. We have to have a place for people to move to town, and it can be done. So there's short-term issues and there are long-term issues. We get houses, it'll offset the school, it'll help the school out as well. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
Housing is an issue, but we're landlocked. We have 2 people that own land that have got us locked into where, and they're not too sure if they will sell it. We need to talk with them to see if they will not release some of this land to be developed and everything. I'm not aware of the ambulance service, but I do agree with Larry. The ambulance service is a priority and everything. And I know that was put on the ballot to have the fire department take that over. And because it has to be in a taxing body, because we were running the ambulance service out of our general fund whenever it was in the city's hands. So there has to be either an ambulance district or leave it in the fire department's hands at this point, and try to work with them in some way to where it can stay that way. Another thing that's a pressing issue, I think the town just needs to be cleaned up. I think it needs to be in better shape. We've got a lot of old houses in town. I own one of those old houses, and it will come down before the summer's over with. I am going to get rid of it because it looks bad. There's a lot of other old houses in this community that need to be taken out, and that's one place where people can build here in this community, inside the city limits and everything.
Mr. Testery, same question.
Yes, sir. I think the most pressing issue depends on who you're asking. In 4 years I've been on the council, the pressing issues have ranged from vandalism to water quality to policing. I mean, just a ton of different issues depending on who you're talking to. And as a representative, the pressing issue for you, for me, is what's for you. The most pressing issue for the city government right now is to keep the funding available for the infrastructure improvements and the capital development. That's where the focus for the government's at right now, for your city government. As far as the other issues, it just depends on who you're talking to.
Thank you. It's kind of heavy talking about all those issues, so this is a little more fun as far as talking about personalities. This first question here, this will be Mr. McKinley to start. What do you think is the best and worst parts of your personality?
Very good question. Well, I'm a teddy bear. I'm the nicest guy in the world you ever want to know, because once you get to know me, I'm not that bad a guy. I have a heart. I am concerned about people. I'm concerned about this community. I want to help things. I want to help people. I'm just overall passionate about a lot of things, but I'm not as bad as everybody thinks I am. My fault is maybe the way I come across sometimes. It's not very good. And I realize that. People make me realize that. My family makes me realize that. And sometimes I'm not aware of it and everything. I don't mean anything by it, but I'm really pretty much a fun-loving guy and enjoy doing a lot of things.
Mr. Tester, same question.
I don't know who the HR person is that wrote that question. The best part is I'm easy to talk to. I'm willing to listen. I don't get upset if we disagree. I'm fine with disagreeing. I'll explain my side, you explain your side, and if we can be in the middle, we'll do it. The other thing is, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I don't tailor my answers to my audience. I'll tell you the same thing I tell this person, that person, whatever. And I don't keep the secrets. I don't keep it up my sleeve or in my back pocket, kind of thing. And I enjoy engaging people. I've enjoyed this job 4 years. A lot of people say you don't want to be on the council because it's hell. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking to people. The worst part about it is I tend to talk way too dang much. So I'll leave it there.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
Well, I think I'm a people person. I like the gift of gab. We'll go somewhere and I'll walk up to a stranger and I'll just start asking questions about their community, what works in their town, what doesn't work in their town, because I'm always trying to get feedback from that. And having the gift of gab, I want to hear what you have to say, because what's important to you is important to me, which is what would be important to the community. I saw that was really a two-part question. Now, the worst thing about me is that I'm very competitive. I've been involved in sports all my life: soccer, football, baseball, girls softball, and so I'm a competitor. Nobody likes to lose. I'm mad when my Packers lose. I'm mad when the Cubs lose, and I want to win. I'm here to win this election, and I'm here to serve you. Don't let me down.
Next question, Mr. Tester, you'll be first on this one. Do you see the city having any role in the Farmer City Raceway, whether it's just promoting it, helping improve it, or just staying away from it entirely, as far as the city's involved?
Yeah, I say now. I'm trying to find my answer real quick. Yes, I do see the city having a role in the raceway. Not so much in managing it and running it or telling you how to run it, but the raceway is an asset to this community. Whether you like it or don't like it, the raceway is an asset to this community. The same as Heritage Days is an asset to the community. The same as the businesses are an asset. The city government should not be telling these organizations how to run their day-to-day operations, but they should be supporting them whenever the opportunity arises. Whether it's just good words, or whether it's helping to fund them a little bit when they have a special project. That's the city's role, is to support these projects, to support these special events.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
Well, I agree with Mr. Testori on the part that we do need to promote the Farmer City Raceway to the fullest. No matter where you go, when you say you're from Farmer City, they say, oh, the Farmer City Raceway. It used to be Prefab Transit or Roberson, but they have since forgotten that. I don't believe that we need to worry about the management of the raceway. And something that I heard little bits and pieces mentioned at a council meeting was an entertainment tax. I don't think that the city needs to be levying an entertainment tax against the raceway. I think that they're struggling at best to keep the thing going and keep it at an even field. And I don't think that we need to have entertainment tax against the Farmer City Baseball or the BMX or any of those other organizations that are out there to actually help our kids. And they're doing the best to promote the community as well. So there again, we just need to leave the racetrack alone. Thanks.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
I'm not a race fan, but I'm not against promoting the racetrack. I think it is good for the community. People do relate. You say Farmer City, they relate to the racetrack here and all. I know in the past the racetrack seemed to be a little bit stronger. I know we were on ESPN with the racetrack in certain races and everything in the past, which I thought was pretty good. I really thought that was a great deal. And but probably the noise more than anything bothers me about the racetrack. But overall, the racetrack, I'm not against it being here or anything. It is a good asset to the community.
Next question, Mr. Woolen. This will be yours to start. Do you believe that the city manager and or police chief should live within city limits?
Well, yes, I do. For various reasons. One is they're being paid by the city of Farmer City, and that's your tax dollars. They should be vested in the community, as you expect any elected official to be vested in your community. There is no doubt that the police chief, your police officers, and your city manager should be a resident of the community. If they live here, they're going to better understand why you complain about potholes or drainage or any of those issues that may seem minor, but they're your issues and they're important to you. So yes, I do believe that those two top officials for the city should be residents of the community.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
No, I do not feel they need to live here. I think if they're going to do their job, as a lot of people do, they travel someplace else to work, and I think that's just what they're doing. They're traveling to Farmer City to do their job. And the way our housing is in this community and everything, might not find a house that's suitable to them. And then trying to sell that house, if we get mad at the city manager and we fire the individual, or they leave on their own accord, which has happened in the past, it makes it very difficult for them to get rid of that property and all. I think where they live at, if they're involved in their job, they will be involved in the community and what goes on here and everything, and they will support anything that we want. I just don't feel they have to live here.
Mr. Tester, same question.
That's a tough one, because I know how some people feel. So I'm going to disagree with a few people. I don't think the city manager needs to live here, and I don't think the chief of police needs to live here. That may be true for the officers and the city workers, even though most of them don't live here. But the city manager is a professional. She brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of professionalism to this job. And I'm not saying that nobody in Farmer City has the ability to do that job, but that narrows your pool of candidates down considerably. The chief of police is the same deal. If you live in the community, you tend to make friends in the community, which is not a bad thing. But the chief of police needs to operate the police station, not be buddies with people. That tends to undermine his job. The city manager, yeah, she's doing it. She doesn't need to live here either. Unless we find somebody within the city limits that has her knowledge and has her ability, I would say that we're just fine looking outside the city for that kind of professionalism.
Okay, next question. Mr. McKinley, you'll be first to answer. Do you see it as necessary that Farmer City retains its own police department in the future?
Maybe not the same form it is right now, but yes, I think we do need to keep our police department. It is one of the most costly things in our city right now, in our little community. The police budget runs $400,000, maybe a little over $400,000 this coming year, and it drains down on the general fund and all, and it has to be supported with other monies to keep it in shape. I think it's worth looking at the county for patrol. I think we could maybe lessen the cost of the police department. I know some people don't like probably what I'm saying, but I've been here and I've seen this. Talked with other communities when I went to meetings in Chicago, and they look at doing this sort of thing. Certain communities around us use the county to patrol for their police, for their community, and use the county police to do that. I think we could look at doing the same and maybe save ourselves a lot of money.
Mr. Tester, same question.
Yes, we need the police department. It was mentioned that we need the bank. If you lose the bank, you lose the community. If you lose the grocery store, you lose the community. If you lose the Farmer City Police Department, the Farmer City Fire Department, the ambulance service, this community will be in deep trouble. The research I've done talking to the county is that if we resort to using the county for our coverage, when that officer is called away and we have an emergency, we are at the bottom of the list. He will be back when he gets back. Our department has good guys on it. For the most part, I think they've been professional. They're an asset to the community. You don't want to lose the police department. It has to stay.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
I think that there is no doubt that any community needs its own law enforcement. I did reach out to Sheriff Jared Schaffner and now Mike Walker. And I've discussed this before, being the former chief. They really don't want to be involved in policing Farmer City. The cost would go up. You would not see a savings. They will tell you that they pay their men more than what Farmer City pays their men, so that cost would go up. The service would not be the same. You would not get that individualism from the officers that you have grown to know. I think that it would be a step back, if not 2 or 3 steps back, if you were to lose your own police force.
Next question. Mr. Tester, you'll be first to answer. How would you propose to communicate with the residents of Farmer City offline? In other words, not via Facebook.
short of going door to door, I can't be responsible for having everybody find out what's going on. We do put stuff in the Clinton newspaper. I've reached out to Channel 3 periodically. I've seen articles in the News Gazette. If there's something pertaining to a person, I will always try to reach out to that person. But this is a digital world. And I don't have an answer as to how to get people who are not digital informed, short of them coming to the meetings and seeing it for themselves.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
Well, there again, during my campaign, I did go to door. I met with a lot of people, and I listened to their complaints. I don't know that the mayor necessarily has time to go to door all the time. But I think that if the mayor would establish some hours of availability at City Hall, and that you knew that on this date that the mayor would be there to listen to your issues, to address your concerns, I think that that would go a long way. Doesn't matter who the mayor is, I think that that needs to be established for the betterment of the community. I don't believe we'll ever get a newspaper back in town, and by gosh, if we stayed off Facebook, it might be a better community to live in. So there again, I think that hours at City Hall to where you could sit down and talk to the mayor would be a good thing.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think, if you can work it out to where you can have hours at City Hall, it would be a good thing. Also, too, we have the coffee shop, the restaurant, organizations in town. I know in the Knights of Pythias Lodge I belong to that we do talk about things that happen in town, and that's where you do bring up. And so you can get passed on that through word of mouth. Maybe the transfer of word of mouth from one to the other might get a little exaggerated sometimes, but hopefully not. But that's one way. That's probably what they used to do in the past. They didn't have, they didn't have Facebook, and you couldn't do anything else. They would go to organizations, and the organization would talk about things and let the news that was coming to town, people dying and getting married and whatever else, engaged. So.
Next question, Mr. Woolen, this will be yours to start. With a year's worth of hindsight, do you feel the garbage provider issue was handled properly?
Wow. No, I don't. I think that there were ways, and the end result might have been the same, but I think that how it got to where it was just upset so many people. I'm not so sure that a questionnaire could have been attached to the utility bills. You get a utility bill, you're getting the garbage bill. You could have answered that. You could have stuck it in the drop box. Even though it would have been random and we might not have known your name, we would have your feedback and we would see, and I say we, as I would be a representative of the community, we would know how you felt. You saw in Monticello that they wanted to keep their garbage services. And one thing to keep in mind too, folks, is that for years, Night Disposal provided free service to the city. They provided dumpsters in all the parks. They picked up the trash on Main Street, and they never charged a penny. So I don't believe that Knights were treated fairly in this whole issue. Thanks.
Mr. McKinley, your question.
Well, I'm sorry I have to disagree with him. I do think they were treated fairly. It was a bidding process, and David had the chance to bid on it. And he told us at City Council meeting that he told my daughter and I in my office that he wasn't going to bid on it. My daughter begged him to come and put in a bid for it and everything. He also said at the meetings that he wasn't going to hurt his business and everything. If he said something that was going to hurt his business, I think we would have dropped the whole process right then. He had a fair chance at this to give us a fair bid and everything, and everything I feel was handled properly. It took 4 months, I think, to get this project through and everything. It was not an overnight thing. It wasn't rammed through. But everybody knew where Aaron and I stood on that at the council meeting, and we did not pass the deciding vote. So I just don't think it was mishandled or properly at all. I think everybody had a fair shot at it.
Mr. Testry, same question.
No, I don't think it was handled properly or well, and I would like to correct the record. I am the only candidate, the only city council member that voted against this garbage issue. When it came up, I spoke with the city manager and I asked her for options. And she came up with an option for vendor licenses, which means Dave could have kept his customers, Eric could have kept their customers. They both would have paid vendor fees. By the end of this process, Arian and Knights both conceded that they would provide recycling to people who really felt they wanted that. And everybody I talked to said they were happy to pay whatever fee Dave wanted. They weren't concerned about the savings at the time. They liked Dave, they liked Knights, they wanted their service. The part about this that really rubbed me wrong is I'm a free market guy. I like small government. And this was a businessman with deep roots in Farmer City that was cut out by a conglomerate, by another businessman.
Next question. Mr. McKinley, this will be yours to start. How would you like to see city government and the school district work together?
I like to see a very strong relationship between the city government and the school. Anything that we can do to help the school is a plus for our community. The school is, I think, it's probably the heart of our community. We lose our school, we talk about everything else. We've lost everything as far as I'm concerned. We've lost our identity. It'd be a tragedy to have that ever happen. I know enrollment is down not only in this school district, but in a lot of school districts. I know we are going to help the school, and there's going to be a new driveway put in at Snyder School this coming summer. There's been talk about putting a new track around the football field, and we can participate in that as far as doing any of the dirt work or anything that has to be done, but the school has to take care of putting the track down. But I'm strongly in favor. I help the school out now as much as I possibly can, especially during the basketball season, and I'm a big advocate of keeping our school and our city government in close relationship.
Mr. Testry, same question.
I think close relationship is a good thing, but I think it's important to realize the city needs to be responsive to the school district, particularly when it comes to infrastructure. That is the city's primary role in supporting the school district is the infrastructure. These are two separate entities. They both have boards. They both have separate funding. The John Street project is moving ahead. That's a cooperative effort between the school and the city. The school is also supportive of the TIF. That's good cooperation, but we need to realize the school and the city are different, and we have boundaries.
Mr. Woolen, same question.
I would agree with Mr. Testori that there are boundaries that have been established because we are both taxing bodies. We need to be careful that we play our own game, per se. But I also think that there's a wealth of knowledge at the school with our teachers and the administration. They know people that we wouldn't deal with on a governmental basis. And I think that if we could bring those teachers and their administrators in, and we sit down and we have work sessions, we can work together to make Farmer City a better community. Then we'll see that the city and the school really work together on a better Farmer City. And so I think that that is something that we really need to be working towards. Thanks.
Next question, Mr. Testry, you'll be first to answer. What kind of quality of life improvements would you like to see?
Well, Farmer City currently has several parks. If we're talking recreational, the council's made a commitment to Rails to Trails project that would connect the walking trails from the communities on the east and the west of Farmer City. We've got stuff that I'm personally involved in, like the Farmer City Haunted Forest. They got a great committee heading that up. We also started, being another guy, started the Farmer City Outdoor Movie Project to provide some quality entertainment there. If you'd like to help on that, call me. Shameless plug, sorry. The new sidewalks, we're looking at new sidewalks. That could be considered a quality of life improvement. They are going in, as Mr. Fuller said, on Water Street. And I believe they're going to be working on John Street sidewalks too. The biggest improvement to quality of life, as I see it, is the citizen involvement in the events that Farmer City puts on, with just skeleton staffing in most cases. Bring your groups out, become involved, and help improve the quality of life by getting your groups out there.
Mr. Woolley, same question.
Well, when I first saw that question, I really didn't know how to answer it, and to be honest with you, I still don't. I believe that for our youth, quality of life is great because we have all the summer sports that they can become involved in, and we have a great school system that also provides a various amount of sports and recreation for them. Then when you get to us older folks, that's where I start to question the quality of life. One thing that's important with a good quality of life is having a local police force. So I looked today at FBI statistics and I found out that Farmer City has a 56% lower crime rate than the national average. That means that our local police force is doing their job. That allows you to have a good quality of life. You can walk down the streets and you can feel safe. I think that if we bring in students from Illinois Wesleyan, I know that they'll come and they'll meet with us, or ISU, maybe that they could give us some suggestions. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, same question.
I think one life improvement, I had a lot of people complain to me about burning in town, and maybe to find an alternative to that, because some people have a health issue because of the burning of brush and leaves in town in the fall of the year, and maybe in the spring of the year also. The parks and everything, to keep them upgraded and everything, South Park, to keep it going, they do a good job with their fall project and everything out there. City Park or Weedman Park, to keep it upgraded, to keep that in good shape. We're going to redo the pool and everything here after this summer. In August, it's going to start in and revamp the pool and everything. It's something that's going to turn 48 years old this summer. So it needs to have an upgrade and everything. So we're going to take care of that.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what. If somebody wants to know how many questions does it take to get a forum to an hour and 20 minutes, the answer is 23. So I don't know who had the over-under on that, but this would be the over part. And I'm geeking out at the fact that in our order of who starts in that, since Larry answered the opening statements last, he was going to automatically begin the closing statements, and it just happened to fall in his order there as well. So 23 is the magic number for running a candidate forum. So it's time for closing statements. They have 60 seconds each, same as with the questions, to say whatever they wish to say to finalize our forum piece. So Mr. Woolley?
You can't say a lot in 60 seconds. But anyway, I want to just say that I will do the best job that I can if I'm elected your mayor. Again, I will not accept a wage to do that. I believe that if somebody really cares about their town, they don't need to be paid to be your mayor. There are issues that are going on in the community. I'll listen to your issues. I'll address them the best I can. I'll have an open ear. And just give me the opportunity, and I will make sure that Farmer City continues to progress in a positive manner. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley, your closing statements.
I'm a very open, honest, and sincere person. I want to see this town progress. I've always wanted to see this town progress and do well. I always brag about Farmer City whenever I've been someplace else. I hate it when somebody puts us down. I just almost want to get into it with them about it, because they'll say something I really don't like. I have a passion for this community. I think we have a lot of good things going. We have good people in this community. We have a good school system. I am very much committed to this community. I'm an open-minded, like I said, and I'm open to people who want to come and talk to me. Maybe you don't feel you're afraid to come and talk to me. I wish you wouldn't be that way. Just if you do want to talk to me, you can get a hold of me through our business and everything, and I will sit down with you and talk to you about anything.
Mr. Tester, your closing statement.
Yes, sir. Farmer City has made very little progress in the last 15 to 20 years. And you've heard many stories on the council about how it should have been, could have been, or would have been. You've got 2 new council members coming on. Your choice is fairly simple. It's between the old guard or the new way. I'd appreciate your vote.
Folks, the election is Tuesday, April the 2nd. Hopefully you heard some things this evening that gave you a little bit more clarity as to the decision that you're going to make. Let's have a round of applause for all of our candidates. if you give us a moment, we'll pull the microphones off of them, and then they can kind of separate, and you can ask other questions, volunteer to help, whatever you wish to do from this point. At 9 o'clock, we'll look to kick camp, but we got 40 minutes now, so thank you.